Alright, good afternoon class, and today we are doing graphing linear equation in slope-intercept form 3.5, parentheses 2.
Alright, thank you. Alright, so we already talked a little bit about slope-intercept form. So, what, from yesterday, anybody remember, what is slope-intercept form? And Mr. Wright just did an example with that equation. Yep.
M equals yx plus b.
Close, you got the right letters. It just doesn't start out m equals, it starts out, Sydney? Y equals mx plus p. Okay. What is m in that formula? M is the...
Represent.
M is your slope. How about b? What is b, Matt?
Y-intercept.
Y-intercept. Can someone explain that to me simpler? What's Y-intercept?
Where are the Y-intercepts?
What does that mean?
The one that's on the y.
Jack?
When the slope crosses the y.
Where the line crosses the y. Yep, where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay. Anybody that needs to...
So guys, on your notes, where it says slope-intercept form is a line below it, write the formula. Y equals mx plus b. Where it says m equals, write slope. Where it says b equals, write y-intercept.
Okay, so the first example asks us to find the slope and y-intercept. First of all, is that equation written the right way? Is everything where it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Yes. So now, if it's where it's supposed to be, you should be able to look at that and know what you're looking for to find slope. Where is the slope? It's always the number that's what?
Well, the number that's next to the variable.
The number that's next to the variable, right in front of the x. So Joe, what's the slope?
-6.
-6. And now what is my y-intercept? Paige?
1.
1. Okay, so that's it. There was nothing else you had to do there because it was already arranged for you. Any questions on 1A?
Oh wait, let me do Okay.
Okay. B. Y equals 8.
Hey, these are the ones I don't understand. Because there's no...
Okay, so what's this is special, right? Look at the equation. What letter is that?
Y.
Well, y is on the other side, but
Oh, then that's M.
but 8. Well, is it in front of an x?
No.
No, if you had an x, then I would say that's m. It's not in front of an x.
Oh.
So what letter does it have to be?
B.
It's b.
And how do you find that?
So the mx is gone. So what does that mean that letter must be? Yeah. M is 0. Because remember, if you have 0 times something, do we write it?
No.
No.
Oh, okay, that
It's
makes
gone.
So the slope is 0?
So the slope,
Y-intercept is 8.
the slope is
So
0.
every time it's the special case, is the slope 0?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless it says X in front of it.
Yeah, but that's not a special case.
Okay? So when you just have y equals a number, that's the horizontal line,
So,
and the slope is 0. Okay?
So it's just one variable?
It's just one variable because this part is gone. Okay, any questions on 1B?
okay.
Sydney?
So basically, if there's no variable after the, or if there's no, like, there's just another variable, you just write it, the slope is 0.
If it's y equals and then a number, the slope is 0. Okay, what did Mr. Roy say yesterday about this? What if it's x equals a number? What's the slope there?
What did you say?
Joe?
8. The slope is 8 and the intercept is 0.
Damn.
Say that again?
Slope's not 8. What's the slope of x equals?
What do you mean?
What kind of line is x equals if you draw it?
It's up and it's a vertical.
Yes, it's a vertical line. What's the slope of a
Up
vertical?
0.
Describe the slope.
No, 0 was flat. Undefined.
Yeah, remember, vertical's undefined. Up and down, vertical's undefined. That's
They
why,
should have a
that's why,
different
that's why the special case of x equals has no slope. Has no slope, has no y-intercept, has nothing, it's just undefined.
How are we gonna be able to distinguish like when they're talking about a number and then when they're talking about like unidentified and stuff like that?
If it's, the slope is 0, it's unidentified.
Well, there's only 3 cases you could have. X equals a number, y equals a number, or the case where you have both letters. Those are the only 3 cases you could have. We already did y equals a number. We already did it when it was in slope-intercept form. This one is a little different because it's not quite slope-intercept form. What do you have to do to fix this one? Think about what's on the left side that shouldn't be there. Yeah? The 2x. Anything else?
Wait, you can't have a 2x here?
No. What letter is supposed to be by itself on the left?
Y,
And it's not. So the 2x. What else do we have to get rid of?
the 4.
The 4.
4 with the y, yeah?
Whatever's closer to the y, think of the y as like protecting it, holding on to it. You can't really get rid of the 4. We're going to get rid of the things that are furthest away first. So start with the 2x. How would you get that to the other side?
You would,
Sydney?
do you add 2 to both sides? Or add -2 to both sides?
Well, careful. We don't have a 2. We have something with it.
Would you divide?
Add a -2x to both sides?
Subtract. Yeah, adding a negative just means subtract.
Remember, make sure guys, you're just not subtracting the number, you're subtracting the number and the variable, right? They're together. Because you want to get it in the right order.
So what do I have now on the other side? And there's 2 ways to write this, but I'm looking for one way in particular. Yep,
-2x minus 10.
perfect. You always want to put the number with x first, and then put the number without x last. So if you were thinking -10 minus 2x, yes, but that's just not the right order.
Format.
Now the last thing I can get rid of is the 4. How do I do that? Joe?
Would you divide 4 to both
Yeah.
sides?
Divide by 4.
Everything by 4, everything.
And who can tell me, what does that leave me with? Just reduce anything that you can reduce.
Remember, we don't want to make it a mixed number.
-2x minus.
What does that reduce to?
No, that could be 1/2.
Good.
1/2.
Close, negative.
Oh,
The
negative.
negative just stays.
Minus, now what does that reduce to?
5/2.
That was 10/4.
5/2.
5/2.
Yeah, because you divide. Because on both of those, we simplified by 2.
Now, is that in the right format?
No.
Is that y equals mx plus b?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay, you get the y, the x, and the number at the end.
So now you should be able to tell me your slope. What's your slope?
-1/2.
I heard a couple numbers.
-1/2.
Negative
Yeah.
1/2.
Remember, don't put the x with it. The x is just a hint to tell you that that's the slope.
Okay,
It's
so
not
wherever
the
the
x.
x is, the slope is before it.
Yep. What about the y-intercept?
-5.
5 and 2.
Negative 5/2.
You guys, very rarely, this is the way this problem worked out, very rarely are we going to give you a y-intercept that's a fraction, because it's just a pain in the butt to graph.
Oh, thank God.
Okay, so this is probably one of the hardest ones because you had to rearrange it. That's one of the easiest ones. Okay.
And there will be a couple guys on the test tomorrow that you're going to have to make sure you know how to rearrange.
Will there be any fractions in the test?
There could be fractions and
Might be
decimals
might
probably.
be a
Yep.
decimal one.
Wait, can we do
Those I think
decimal
they,
instead?
those I think.
You did a decimal in the
Yeah,
warm-up.
in the warm. It won't be, and we probably won't give you one like slope intercept that has a decimal in it, it might be like a special case.
Hey, those I can actually deal with.
Okay, good.
Okay, so if you want to graph an equation in y equals mx plus b, there's a few steps you got to make sure. 3 steps. First, make sure your equation is y by itself, then m with the x, and the b is
Yeah,
last.
so basically you want the number, you want the y, then you want a number with x, and then you want just a number at the end, a plain old number with no variable attached. That's the order you want it in.
Once you have it in that order, the first thing you look at is that number right there, and you graph that. What is B again? It's the y-intercept. So you're either going to go up and put a dot, or you're going to go down and put a dot.
Remember that y-intercept is just going to be a number. There'll be no variable attached. It'll just be a number.
Now, if all you had was a y-intercept, can you draw a line with just that one point? And
No,
get
you
the,
can't.
can you draw a single line with just that one point? No.
Well, yeah, no, because you have to have at least 2 points.
You got to have at least two. One point's not enough. There's a whole bunch of lines that all go through the same point. Okay? We need to do something else. So what else do you think we're going to use besides the y-intercept to get another point? The slope. We did use the x-intercept the day before, or maybe 2 days before, but today we're going to use the slope.
Today we may ask you from your graph to tell us what the x-intercept is.
Okay, so the idea is you find a y-intercept, and then from that point, the slope gives you directions to get to another point. Remember we talked about rise over run? So we'll use the slope to get a second point. And then once you have 2 points, you can draw your line. If the slope ever isn't a fraction, how can you make it a fraction? Like let's say your slope was a
Putting it
2.
over
Or
one.
negative 2.
Yeah.
So guys, any whole numbers yet, whether they're negative or positive, you can make them a fraction by putting them over 1.
So what did we say about a negative slope? Which way does negative go?
When you're counting, what direction do you go?
Are we
Down,
Down.
Then where?
down, left.
down right?
Down, we always go right. Right? We never go left. Always down and right for negative. What if it's positive?
Down and left.
No, we never go left.
If it's positive.
We always go right.
Oh, up and
We either go
right.
up and right, or we go down and right.
We don't have space for this on our story.
I think you wrote it yesterday.
I mean, I know there's a little bit of space. I know there's no like lines or anything, but you have a little empty space on the bottom of your page if you want to write it in. Again, if you know that, then you don't have to write it in. But if you think you might forget that, I'll write it in.
Okay, so some people said go left. You're not wrong if you say go left. Okay, you can go left, but I think if you just remember it as always going right, and then the only thing you have to decide is up, down. So you only have one decision to think of, up, down. You always go right. Okay. Everyone good with?
They don't like
With that?
signals.
Like next to each other.
All right,
Oh.
so
Jedi signals.
we talked about how to graph this by using intercepts. Plug in a 0 for x, plug in a 0 for y. That's one way. This one, we're doing a little different. We're going to do it this way.
Slope intercept.
Make sure it's in y equals mx plus b form. Is that in slope intercept?
Yes.
No, it's not.
it's
It's
not.
not for everything.
Right. If the y is by itself, then you're good. If it's not, you're not good. So, what do I have to move to the other side?
The 6x.
We're going to move the 6x, and we're also going to move the 3. Which one are we going to move first?
The 6x.
How do we move it?
Gonna move it by negative 6x.
Yep. Subtract 6x. Subtract 6x. What does that leave me with on the left?
A 3y.
Perfect.
Getting there.
And now on the right, we want to write what we have, and we want to put it in the correct order.
Order.
We want the number with x first. Yeah?
Negative 6x minus 12.
Right. The negative is with the 6. We have a negative with the 12.
So all you're basically doing, guys, like we talked about in the warm-up, you're taking that information that's written vertically and writing it horizontally, just kind of putting it on side.
Now, are we good? Are we y? Is y by itself?
No.
What's still there we don't want? 3. How do we get rid of the 3?
Divide it.
Divide where?
On all sides.
Everywhere.
Everything.
Both sides. 3, 3, 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. That's gone. What's negative 6 divided by 3?
Negative 2x.
Yep.
Damn, Skippy.
Minus
Four,
negative
negative
4.
four.
Minus
It's
4.
negative 4, yep.
Now we got y by itself. Now we're good.
Okay.
Step 1. Graph your intercept on the y-axis. What's the intercept?
Wait, is the
2x,
intercept the
negative
slope?
2x.
No, negative 4.
Yeah.
Remember, the number with x is the slope.
So negative.
So the other number has to be the intercept.
The other number is the intercept.
Okay.
So
it's 4.
Negative 4, 0.
then the sign always goes with it. So negative 4. How do I graph negative 4?
Down.
Xander?
And you go down on the x, y-axis.
Down 4.
Nice.
Now, is that enough information to draw a line?
No, because we have to have 2 things.
You gotta have another point. So what do I use to get my other point?
The slope.
Perfect. From the y-intercept, use the slope. What's the slope? Slope is negative 2, but it's not a fraction, so we could always put it over 1. So here are your directions, how to get to another point. What does this mean as a direction? Which way? Down. Down how many?
2.
2. 1, 2. And then we go which way? 1 unit.
Ah, crap.
Wait, do we start at
Go to the right.
To the right.
Why do we start at negative 4?
Because that's what the direction said. From the y-intercept.
Oh, okay.
Not back from the
Don't go
origin.
back to start, no?
From the y-intercept. So from the y-intercept,
This is weird.
down 2. And what did we say this one was?
1.
1 to the
right.
right. We always go right.
Whether it's negative or positive, we're always going right.
The only thing you have to decide is up or down. Up or down.
And we go down if it's negative.
Down if it's negative. Yep.
And then if it's positive, do we go up?
You go up. Yep. So there's your point. Now draw your line. If you want to do it again, could you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You could go down 2 and write 1 again.
Only made you guys do it twice.
You could do it as many times as you want. The point is, connect all the dots now.
I said if you want to do what if you go, like you start back at the first line, what if you go over 1 up 2?
If you wanted to go the other way, yes, you could go. But that's good enough.
Okay. So does it matter which view we're in?
Does it matter what?
Like which space we're in? Like
Which space?
you know how there's 4 squares?
You might end up in any one of the 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Make sure your line though, it goes through all the points. Don't draw your line like this. Make it big.
Okay.
Make it go through the points. Yeah, and put an arrow, you can't see it, but I have an arrow on each end. Right there. And that's your line. Okay?
Are we gonna draw them on the test or literally?
Yes, there will be some you have to draw.
Yeah, there'll be
You
short
can
answers.
use your ID, to make it straight. Use that as like a ruler.
You guys, I just want to show you guys, just to go back. For this, because people understand how we got this to become negative 2.
Yeah, because you divide.
Yeah, exactly. Like Josiah said, negative 6. Remember, fractions division divided by 3, I get negative 2. All right, same thing here, I'm dividing. Negative 12 divided by 3, negative 4. I just reduced them. We always want to try to reduce, if we can, we'll do a slope intercept. All right, so we go back. What's the first, when I'm doing slope intercept, right? Someone tell me by raising their hand. What's the first thing I have to ask myself? Mallory?
Is it y equals mx?
Yeah, it's y equals mx plus b. So Mallory, can you answer that question for me? Is it?
No.
It's not, right? Okay, so we know that. It's not in slope intercept form. Is it to get it in slope intercept form? Does anybody know how many steps it'll take?
Like 3 or 4.
How many things we have to do? No.
How many did we do on the last problem?
3.
No, we did 3.
1, 2. We did
2, right? We did 2 things, right? What did we do? What was the first thing we did?
We
minus 6x.
Yeah, we minus, right? So we're gonna, if x and y are on the same side, we gotta get the x to the other side. So it's either gonna involve addition or subtraction, depending on what sign is with the number with x. So Connor. So in this problem, what sign, not what number, what sign is with the number, well, actually answer me this first. What numbers with X?
4.
4. What type of a 4 is that?
Positive.
Positive. What am I going to do to move it?
Subtraction.
Make it negative, right? So what am I'm minusing what? Connor, minus,
2.
no?
4x.
I want to move this, exactly. I thought you said 4x, that's good. Minus 4x. Connor, where else am I going to subtract it from?
Under the 2.
From the 2, very good. Nice job. So that'll cancel out over here. Here's my equal sign. On that left-hand side, Z, on that left-hand side, what's left? Now this canceled out.
X.
No, this canceled out now. I'm on the left-hand side now. I'm on this side.
2y.
What is it?
Negative.
Negative 2y. Remember that negative is attached to it. Negative 2y. All right. Now, on the other side, I got to be careful, right? Paige, how do I write it out?
Negative 4x plus 2.
Now, good. There's no sign written here, but we talked about all year. If there's no sign, we know it's positive. That's just the way it is. Plus 2. All right?
Divide everything by 2. Careful there.
My eye.
Negative.
I think I'm going for it.
Now, what do you want to do now? No, I just heard you say something.
Divide by 2.
Careful.
Negative 2.
I'm going to divide just the y.
No,
Everything, right? Negative 2, negative 2, negative 2. When I do negative 2, how about Ginny? When I do negative 2y divided by negative 2, what's left?
That cancels out.
This will cancel out. What's left?
Negative.
No, this is gone.
This is just a y.
That's what I want, right? I want the y only. That's my whole reason for doing it, to get y by itself. Very good. How about Jack? Negative 4x divided by a negative 2.
Negative 4x.
How about this negative 4 divided by negative 2?
2.
2, positive 2. What needs to be with it as well? So this, I did this, I took care of that, but what else is still there? The x, right? I gotta make sure I put the x. Alright? And then, Connor, how about positive 2 divided by a negative 2? Is your answer gonna be positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Do you know a number?
No.
X. How about it? So I know it's gonna be negative 2 divided by 2? 1. Good job. Done, right? In slope-intercept form. Remember, when x and y are on the same side, you're going to have 2 steps. You're either going to add or subtract the y to the other side, depending on what the sign is, and then subtract, divide by whatever is attached to the y. 2 steps. All right. So in this problem, what do I have to do now? What do I need to identify?
The slope and then the other one.
The slope and the other. What's the other one?
I think B.
Y. What does B stand for? Like no one just said, the Y-intercept. Good. Where do I start my? So I got a 50-50 chance here to get it right. Am I going to start at the slope or am I going to start at the Y-intercept?
Y-intercept.
I will start at the Y-intercept. What's the Y-intercept in this problem, Josiah?
Negative 1.
How do you know that's the Y-intercept?
Because I know the other one is the slope.
Yeah, I know you know the number with x is the slope. So whatever the other thing is, that's just a number. That's going to be your Y-intercept. How do I graph that? Which axis? Which axis?
The Y.
The Y-axis. Where am I going?
1.
Up or down?
Down.
Down. This one, Josiah, am I okay to start in the middle on this one? Do I start in the middle to graph this?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to go down 1, right? To here. There's my Y-intercept. Right? There's my Y-intercept right there. From there, what do I use? Someone tell me by raising their hand. What do I use now? Paige?
The slope.
The slope. What is the slope in this problem?
2x.
2. But I need the slope to be a fraction, so it needs to be rise over run.
2 over 1.
Put it over 1, right? 2 over 1. What does that mean to do? Sophia?
Go up 2.
Up 2.
And then to the side, to the right one.
Right one. That's what 2 over 1 means. I just wrote it out for you guys. Up 2, right 1. Do I go back to the origin? Do I go back to the middle?
You go up 1 from the middle.
Do I go back to the origin and graph? Do I go back
No,
here?
you go from the
No, I go from the Y-intercept, right? Remember, your Y-intercept, once you graph the Y-intercept, that's your start. So from there, like you guys just told me, up to 1, 2, write 1. And that's it. I only have to graph it once. I only need 2 points to make a line. I'm not going to do the fancy, you know what, I'll get fancy, I'll do it.
Yay. What's fancy? Oh.
Like
What's fancy?
the line that does the neatness.
The neatness.
The neatness.
Cool.
Is that you making these notes today?
Nope.
Why can't we use the notes on the test? Like,
If you want to add stuff from your notes to your reference sheet, you
We
can.
can,
No, we
use,
don't.
we can use the reference sheet for the test.
And you can write anything you want on the reference sheet. You just, like I told you at the beginning, you
Anything.
don't just have to answer those questions. All right? You can do more than that. All right? Mr. A, you want to do this last one?
Sure.
Okay. One more to go, then we'll do a little review again.
Are we using those cool calculators?
All right.
Extra calculators.
So this one, it's worded a little bit differently,
oh my goodness.
It's all right. It's wrong.
but you're doing exactly the same thing
I can't even read it.
you've been doing. I'll read it for you. Is it on your paper too?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on your paper.
Where
No,
it says
Yes.
graph F,
no, it's
zero,
not.
that's not on there.
Yeah, there's 2 lines, not
Cause it's
Find
shrunken
the
down.
Okay, so example 3, it says a linear function. What does that mean? A linear function
I'm
Is-
cold now.
is the type of function you worked with in example 2. It's the type of function you worked with in 2a. It's the type of function you worked with in all the examples so far. What's up, Joe?
So it doesn't say graph, graph F1, that part.
We'll do graphing in a little
Can you
bit.
just hold on, just
Okay, so it says,
not.
in this problem, we have a line where the dependent value, the y value, goes up 3. For every units, the x value goes up 1. Right? So let me read that again. The y value goes up 3. For every unit, the x value goes up 1.
Guys, on your notes, it says also the y-intercept of the function f is 3. Cross that out. Cross that out on your paper.
This seems different.
I want you to cross that out and write, instead of that, write graph f when f of 0 equals 2. So where it says on your notes, right, I think it's like the second to last sentence, also the y-intercept of the function f is 3. Cross that out and write graph f when f of 0 equals 2. So where it says also the y-intercept of the function is 3, cross that out, and I want you to write in this. So cross out that line that starts with also and write that in instead.
Guys, what is that? We talked about this. When you write f of x instead of y, what is that?
Oh, it's the
I forget what it's called, but I remember talking about f of x.
What does f stand for?
Fairbanks.
You could, but not here. Yeah? Function. Good job.
What about me?
Function. Okay, that is function notation.
Oh,
So,
yes.
function notation is when you plug in something for x and you get something for y. So, look at this. One of those two numbers is an x. The other one is a y.
The two, yeah. Oh. No, isn't that what it is?
So which number there did we say is x? The 0. That's your x. And we did that, I think it was last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the 2?
The y.
That's the y. So what is that? When you have two numbers, that's a,
Those are the intercepts.
that's, well, what is it when you put two numbers together on a graph?
If you have a number, then you have a comma, then you have another number. What do you call that? It starts with a C.
No, coefficients are the little things.
Covalent.
Coordinate.
Coordinate.
Oh, the coordinates on the graph, yeah.
Coordinate
Oh, my goodness.
So when you write something like this, it's just another way
I'm writing a coordinate.
to write a coordinate. What is the coordinate that's represented by what's in that box?
0.
0, 2.
Then why did they do all the words?
It's just a different way. No, it's not. Sometimes it's different. Depends on the problem.
So there's just only one dot?
Well, that's the first step, right?
That basically, guys, is gonna be that 0, 2, that's your y-intercept. Now, instead of like finding a number with x and say, okay, I'm gonna go this direction, we're actually giving you the slope written out in words.
Okay, so what is that point? Because part of the directions say to identify what that point is. What did we just grab?
Y.
The y-intercept.
Remember, the y-intercept is where the line goes through the y-axis. So it's
Okay, y-intercept.
How do
2,
we,
Mr. Hager.
how do we distinguish it from the X?
Well, y is up and down, x is left and right.
Yeah, but the thing on the board has nothing to do with that.
This point, 0 left and right, 2 up.
Oh, since the 2, then, okay.
Since the 2 is in the second spot, that's the y, up and down. Now, the slope is described in words. For every 3 you go up, right? For every 3 you go up, you go 1 on the x. So from here, where would I go to get another point?
Up 3 over 1.
What direction?
Increase 3 on the y, so increases up, and then increase 1 on the x. So which way is that? Right 1.
Remember, if you're increasing, you're going right. If you're decreasing, you're going left.
Okay, I'll do it
So it
again.
never went left.
You won't have to understand.
Okay.
We didn't, we went right. We went right. Up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1. I don't have enough space, but I could go up 3, right 1.
Okay.
There's my points. So now, draw your line. Now, what's the slope? Look at that line and tell me what the slope is. Just look at
Okay, I don't want to tell you from looking at it.
Yep. 3 over 1. Up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1.
So yeah, whatever those words are telling you to do, like however many up, however many to the right, that's going to be your slope, whatever that number is.
Is this gonna be in the test tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh gosh, please, can we not? Just can we cross that one out?
Yeah.
So there's your slope and your y-intercept.
That's one weird looking slope.
Well, it's steep.
It's like a staircase.
Is there anything else they asked us to find? The X-intercept. All right.
So guys, listen. What is the y-intercept? What does that mean?
That's the,
If you had to explain it, what does it mean?
that's the place where the point and the line
Where the line does what?
meet.
Where?
The,
Which axis?
Who's getting sponsored?
Not the x.
oh,
The y, right? The y-intercept means where the line crosses on the y-axis. The number on the y-axis that the line crosses at. So now we're just talking about the x-axis, or the x-intercept. What would the x-intercept be? If we had to explain it. If the y-intercept is where it crosses on the y-axis, what's the x-intercept going to be?
1.
No, where it crosses on the x-axis. Y-intercept is where it crosses on the line crosses on the y-axis. X-intercept is where the line crosses on the x-axis.
Okay. Somebody tell me the equation of that line. You've got the slope, you've got the y-intercept. What would the equation of that line be? Gemini?
y equals 3 over 1.
Yep.
Plus 2.
Perfect. So we've had the equation and figured out the slope and intercept. Now you've got the slope and intercept. We just figured out the equation. What's the only thing left to find? The x-intercept. How do you find the x-intercept? What do you do?
Have we done this before?
We've done this before,
Is
yeah?
it what we did in the other problem?
I don't know if we did it today, but we did it in the warm-up.
It's where isn't it
Oh,
where the dot lands on the x-axis?
Yes, but how do you find it with an equation? How do you find the x-intercept? What we did yesterday.
No.
Yeah?
Wouldn't you substitute
Yeah.
0 for 1?
Exactly. To find the x-intercept, plug in 0 for y. And now, is x by itself?
No, it has the 3.
It has the 3 and The 2. So x isn't by itself. Let's get x by itself, and that's our answer.
We want to get x alone on one side of the equal sign first, then we'll get rid of the number that's with it.
Yep. So how do we get, what do we move first? Yeah?
Subtract 3x from both sides.
Sure. Yep, we could do that. Subtract 3x from both sides. So now we moved it over, but now is the x by itself, yeah.
No.
It's better, but there's still something with it.
3.
The
Negative.
negative 3. So how do you get rid of that negative?
Add 3.
And the 3?
X.
Would you add 3 because then it would cancel out?
You would divide by.
You divide, right? When you have a number times a letter, you always divide to cancel out the number. Divide by the number, okay, whatever it is. So divide by negative 3. So what did we get for an x-intercept?
Two negative. God.
What is it?
2 over negative 3.
Yeah, which is negative 2/3. You can write it either way.
1/36.
Okay, so for this one, if you couldn't look at it on the graph, which I definitely couldn't tell where it was on the graph, I had to write my equation, just like we've done. I had the slope, I had the y-intercept, and then I had to do what we learned yesterday. Plug in 0 for y to get the x-intercept. What if you plug in 0 for x? What does that give you?
The y?
That gives you the y-intercept, which we already have. Y equals 2. We got that one. Okay, so that one had really 2 steps in it, or 2 parts to it.
Will there only be one of these on the test? So like I'm fine.
Yeah, there'll be one of those.
There'll be multiple.
Okay.
They'll all be
I'm
the
fine
same
if I get
question.
like 1 wrong, but I can't keep getting like 6.
No, there'll be multiple.
Okay, so before we do some practice, couple reminders. Test tomorrow. Review worksheet is online. Are we going to have them printed right now?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are going to print
We don't
it?
have time to review.
Noah.
Okay. Mr. Roy is going to be after school today. I'm after school tomorrow. If you need to make anything up before progress reports.
Yeah, so guys, like tomorrow, guys, since we don't have class on Friday, if you don't finish the test tomorrow, you might want to stay with one of us, so you don't have to make it up the next week.